Hello, friends. Happy Tuesday. It's time for another episode of Tuesday Live at 5. This is Lena Gersa. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator from Cambridge, Ontario, Canada. And today I am all about the gorgeous Joy of Christmas suite from the Stampin' Up! September December mini catalog. Now, there's been a lot going up in Stampin' Up! Land today. There is a whole new batch of online exclusive products that just dropped, and they are fabulous, but they're not Christmas themed. So I don't know about you, but I am all about getting ready for Christmas right now. And so I am working on Christmas cards and focusing on getting all of those Christmas holiday projects done before I really start playing with the new products. But I did want to let you know that those are now available, and as always, you'll want to order early so that they don't sell out on you, right? Okay, so let's see who is here. I see Krista is watching. I am just gonna turn down the volume on my phone so I'm not getting an echo. All right, there's Claire. Who else is here? Hi, Rosemary and Connie and Claire. Welcome, welcome, welcome. All right. Hi, Jeanette. How are you? Okay, so as I said, we are all about the Joy of Christmas suite. And so I'm going to show you the suite. It's a big suite. There's a whole ton of products available in it. And then I'm going to show you three fairly quick Christmas cards that you can make with this suite. And then I'm going to show you a bunch of other projects. Does that sound good? All right. Hi, Jean. Hi, Mary Lou. Hi, Susan. Oh, you like my shirt? This is my lumberjack look. It was that kind of morning. I was up very early for band practice. So it was like, what is warm and cozy? And that was the first thing on my list. So, all right. I am going to switch to my desk view so you can see all of the gorgeous products in this suite. Let me just slide this over a bit. There we go. All right. Hi, Mary. How are you doing? Okay, so we have, like I said, a ton of product in the suite. There's actually two bundles that are part of the suite. So I'll show you each one, and they each kind of have their own features and benefits. So if we look at the Joy of Noel stamp set, this is the one that has these big, beautiful sort of foliage images, a couple of sentiments, some textural stamps. It's got a to and from for those that like to hand make Christmas tags. And then, of course, we have that it also is great just on its own. We've got this fabulous. This is the single most used die in my studio this season. I probably cut thousands of these things. It's yeah, it's a good one. So that is the Joy of Noel bundle. Okay, and then we also have the Christmas Classics bundle. So this one has a couple of images, but also has lots and different ones that you can mix and match, right? So you could say Happy Christmas Wishes. You could say Merry Christmas to you and yours. You could say Happy Season's Greetings. You could say Merry Wishes to you and yours. There are all sorts of combinations that you can put together with the sentiments in this, which I love. And then show you some projects. We're not actually going to use this one on the projects today, but I will show you some samples that use it. And then, of course, there's a tag that layers over top, or a label that layers over top of that one. And then same with this one. You are going to see this one in action today. And then the long, narrow. And I love long, narrow label dies. We don't have very many of them, so I tend to use this one a lot. And then we have this beautiful designer series paper. So there's actually two different papers in the suite. I will show you both. So this is the just regular DSP. So beautiful sort of watercolored Christmas images. You're getting static one. I'm not sure what's up with that. That's a new one. Like I said, there's something new every single week. Let's see if we can fix that up and all. Let me just make sure. I'm just going to double check my mic settings and make sure that we are. Yeah, it looks like we are. Now, I was having some Wi-Fi issues before I went live, so it could just be that Wi-Fi is not cooperating very well. So we'll see what happens. I see my desktop cam just switched for a sec. All right, we'll see how that goes. Hopefully the Wi-Fi cooperates and I don't have to start over. All right, thanks for letting me know, everyone, that the sound was not great. All right, we have beautiful watercolor and the plaid foliage. Love this sort of holly berry pattern. There's our green plaid, and then this beautiful watercolored foliage. And then when I flip these over, again, we've got lots more options. So we've got both a pebbled path and a pecan pie wood grain. And then same thing, pebbled path and pecan pie music notes. And people have asked me, the melody here is Duck the Halls. Bum, ba-dum, bum, 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 bum. That's what that is. And then we have just some sort of textured, more solid colors that work beautifully for backgrounds. So that is the Joy of Christmas designer series paper. And then we have some beautiful specialty paper. So you get 6 sheets in a pack, so 2 of each. So this beautiful shaded spruce and gold. We've got this gold wood grain, which is so shiny. I almost need sunglasses. And then again, the music notes on cherry cobbler with the gold foil. So just beautiful paper. And then we also have embellishments, of course. So we have this very vanilla and black large check ribbon. So this is about 3/8 of an inch wide. This is one of my favorite ribbons that we've had in a while because it's so easy to tie. It makes beautiful bows that hold their shape really nicely. You can pull a nice tight knot to get a really cute little bow. Okay, so that's that one. And then we have the loose holly gems and sequins. Now these are currently not available, but they're due back in stock next week. I am going to use some of these on my project today because they are coming back in soon, but look at all that sparkle. So you get the little 16th notes, you get your little holly leaves, and then lots of red gems in different sizes. So you're going to see those in action very shortly. Oops, I just see these little guys, these little music notes, they tend to get everywhere. All right, we're going to set that aside because I'm going to need them in a little bit. All right. Oh, Jeanette reordered that ribbon. Yeah, it's beautiful ribbon. Okay, so here we go. This is the first card we're going to do today, and it's really actually quite simple. Aside from the coloring, it takes a little bit of time, but this is a really quick one. So if you are looking for ideas for fairly quick and easy Christmas cards, this is a good one. So we're going to start with just a piece of that wood grain DSP. It's 4 by 5¼ inches. Okay, and then I have a 1½ by 5¼ inch piece of that gold foil wood grain that I've embossed using the timber embossing folder, and that just looks fabulous embossed on that gold foil paper. So we're going to go ahead and glue that on to our DSP piece. So let's just get that lined up so it's nice and straight. I do like to use my grid paper to help me get my pieces straight as I am constructing my projects. There we go. Okay, and then that is going to get glued onto a Mossy Meadow card base. So all of our card bases have the same dimensions today. They're 5½ by 8½, scored in the middle at 4¼ So this one is going to be a tent fold. So we are going to fold it and then have our folds at the top. Okay, and we're going to glue our DSP centered onto the card base. So we'll just add a little liquid glue and pop that on with a nice equal border. So when I'm making Christmas cards that I know I'm going to mail, I like to maybe have a few less layers, maybe not a lot, but a few less, and then it's a little bit lighter weight to mail. Okay. Mary, I cut and then emboss. Yeah. You could do it either way. If you, I mean, our embossing folders, this one is 6 by 6, so you could cut a larger piece and emboss the whole piece and then trim it down. But what I tend to do is I'll cut my pieces to size and then I'll put 2 or 3 in the embossing folder and run them through together at the same time. All right, so now we're going to add a little bit of this beautiful natural trim. This one I think is actually back in stock. It's not, it's very soon due back in stock, may even be the same time as the holly gems and sequins. So I'm going to cut a notch in either end just by folding the ribbon in half and then taking my scissors and cutting on a diagonal towards the fold. Okay, so that is going to get glued right onto our card front. So I'm just going to take lay down a little bit of seal on my DSP there and just stick that down. Okay, then we have our foliage. So you're going to notice I have one that I've already stamped and colored, and then I have one that I just die cut. So I'm going to show you a little trick. These particular images can be a little bit finicky to line up with the die and have it stay in place as you're running it through the machine. So this is a little trick that I actually find much quicker and easier, especially when I'm doing a whole bunch. Okay, because I can cut a whole bunch of these shapes really quickly, much faster than I could if I actually stamped and tried to align the die. So I cut a bunch of blanks, and I've got my stamp here. I'm going to take my Memento black ink pad and ink up my stamp. And then I'm just going to take my die cut, and I'm very carefully going to line it up with the stamped image. Okay, then I'm going to take a large block that is larger than the stamp, and I'm just going to apply pressure. And when I pull this off, you have a beautifully aligned image that I think is easier to do than trying to line it up with on your machine and run it through. Okay, so if I were doing a whole bunch of these, and I actually prepped a whole whack of these for my retreat this past weekend, it is much quicker and easier to just cut the blanks. Okay, so that's my little time-saving trick for you. Now to color this is our color palette. So we're using, what do we got? Dark Old Olive, dark and light Mossy Meadow, and then dark Cherry Cobbler. Okay, so I'm going to start with these little pine sprigs. So when we stamp it in the black, we end up with black pine sprigs. I didn't really like that. So I'm just going to take my Dark Old Olive, and I'm just going to kind of trace over those lines in the stamped image to kind of give my sprigs a little bit of color. Okay, just like that. And then I'll do these ones as well. I am using the bullet tip. I find I get a little bit finer a line when I use my bullet tip than when I use my brush tip for this, because I don't really want a big thick line. I just kind of want to add a bit of color to those stamped sprigs. Okay, so that is step one. Then I'm going to come in with my dark Mossy Meadow, and I'm going to color my just the regular leaves, not the holly leaves, but the regular sort of leaf shape. So I'm going to just come in again. I'm using my brush tip, or not my brush tip, my bullet tip. You could use your brush tip. I guess it doesn't really matter. I just find this, I have a little bit more control with this one. I don't know. It's kind of a matter of preference, to be honest. So I'm just going to color each of these really quickly, trying to stay in the lines while going fast. There are a lot of these little leaves on here. And some of them it's easy to miss. You don't see them until you go to color another leaf and notice that you missed one. I do like this rich color palette, the dark rich greens. Okay, then I'm going to come in with my light Mossy Meadow, and I'm going to do my holly leaves. So we're just going to add a bit of green to those. Now you could certainly reverse this if you want your holly leaves to be darker. It's kind of a matter of preference again. Holly leaves do tend to be a dark green. So you could certainly do the dark for the holly leaves and the lighter green for the others. There we go, and a couple more down here. There we go. All right, and then the red really is what makes this pop. Okay, so I'm going to take my bullet tip, and with these little berries, I basically just kind of need to touch my bullet tip to the berry and just twist it a little. That's kind of all that is required to color these in. Now you'll notice I'm not doing any shading with my blends here. There's not a lot of real estate on these images for blending color. You certainly could if you really wanted to. But again, I wanted to show you some cards that are fairly quick and easy to mass produce. So if it were me, I would be stamping and die cutting and then stamping a whole bunch of these boughs and then sitting in front of the TV coloring all evening to get those done. All right, so there we go. Now, I have already stamped and heat embossed my sentiment. So this sentiment is from the Christmas Classics dies. And I wanted to make a slight change to my layout here. So this circle is actually a 2¼ inch circle. And I think I'm going to do a slightly smaller circle. Yep, it's a little bit smaller because I want to see a little bit more of that sparkly, sparkly gold in behind. So I'm just switching it up just a smidge here. We're going to pop that out. Oh, maybe it isn't smaller. Maybe it's the same. No, it's the same. I lied. Here I thought I was going to make it a little bit smaller, but that's okay. So I'm going to go ahead and add a couple of dimensionals. Ooh, I'm out of regular dimensionals. Let me grab a sheet from beside me here. If I can find one that actually has some on it. There we go. So I'll add a couple of these guys. And pop this on. So this is some of the More Dazzle, or More Dazzle specialty paper that is in the annual catalog. Okay. All right. So I have my 2 boughs. I've also got a couple of those pine sprigs that I said is the most used dye in my studio. I cannot get enough of this particular pine sprig. So we are going to go ahead and glue these to the back of our circle first. So I'm going to just take a little bit of seal. And we're just going to adhere these, one kind of coming up this way, the other kind of coming down and around this way. And then we're going to adhere our boughs. Okay, so it's not going to give us quite a full wreath. I'm going to actually show you what you need to do to get a full wreath. But this is just going to give us a little bit of the hint of a wreath in behind our pine bough. So I'm actually going to put a little bit of seal right on my die cut. Because I don't want to rip my little pine branches there. So I'll do 1 and 2. And then that is going to go just centered on our card, just like that. And again, I pop these up. I'm actually not going to pop them up this time, again, because I'm trying to think about thickness and mailing and making sure that these will go through the mail without extra postage. Because that was my mission today, was to do fairly lightweight cards that are not going to require extra postage. So here we go. All right, and then the last little touch is to add some of these little 16th notes. So I'm going to show you a trick for adhering these, because honestly, these are a big pain because they're not self-adhesive and they're very staticky, as you saw when I was showing you the package. So I've got my 2 here that stuck to my desk. Now, this is a pet peeve of mine as well. When we are gluing 16th notes, we want to make sure our flags kick out to the right. Okay, don't glue them backwards. You don't want them to look like this. That's not right. And you also don't want to do them upside down. Okay, they don't work this way. All right, so I'm going to do them right side up with the flags kicking out to the right. Now, I've got them upside down purposely right now because I'm going to pick them up with my take your pick. So I'm going to put just a little dab of glue where I want one of my notes. I'm going to pick up, oh, you know what? I didn't want them upside down. I want them right side up. And of course, it's sticking to my finger because they're staticky. So I'm going to grab one with my blue glue end, and then I'm just going to take my pointy end and release it from the blue glue and then leave it there. Don't touch it. Don't move it because as soon as you move it, you're going to get glue on your finger. And then it's going to stick to your finger, and then you'll just get really frustrated. Ask me how I know. So here we go. I'm going to pick up, whoop, that one just flew away. All right, let's try another one. That looks like it has 2. It's extra thick, but that's all right. We'll stick that on. Okay, and then we'll do one more down here. Another little dab of glue. And another little note. And you just kind of let them sit there. Don't mess around with them. Let the glue set. And then you won't end up with a big old oozy sticky mess. Okay. There you go. Thank you, Susan. More Dazzle Specialty Paper. That is it. Thank you for that. All right. So there you go. There are your little 16th notes. And I'll just show you quick on the inside of this one. I did a little more stamping and some coloring with some more images from the stamp set, both the Christmas Classics and the Joy of Noel. And then this sentiment is a combination also from the Christmas Classic set. Okay, so there is idea number 1. Set that aside so my little notes can dry. We'll move all our parts out of the way, and we're going to go on to number 2. So this is a super quick one, and this has a cool little trick that I'm going to show you. Just realized I forgot to bring my trimmer over, so I have to grab that. But I'm going to show you this cool little trick for getting a little extra mileage out of this music note paper. So, you know, I'm a music teacher, and I love this music note paper, and so I want to make it stretch as far as I possibly can. So I'm going to show you this little trick. Let me just grab my trimmer. Here we go. Need my little guillotine. So I have to start. Let me grab my DSP. So we're going to get this card out of this little piece here. Okay. So we're going to get that layer, that music note layer out of this little guy. So this is just a 3x4 inch piece. And I'm going to move my paper up here so you can see. So I'm putting this right down in the corner of my grid paper. And I'm going to measure down 1 inch. Sorry, I lied. Up 1 inch from the bottom right and down 1 inch from the top left. So 1, 2, 3, 4 squares on my grid paper. So I'm just putting a little tick there. Okay, so there's one right there and one right there. Okay, so then I'm going to bring in my trimmer, my guillotine. You could do this with your regular paper trimmer as well. So I'm going to line up the tick marks with the cutting edge. So on my guillotine, I'm lining it up with the edge. On your regular trimmer, it would be with the cutting track. And then we're going to chop just like that. All right, so now we have our two pieces. Can you see how this is going to work? All right, so let's bring in our background piece. So this is a piece of that beautiful foliage pattern DSP, so 4x5 1/4. Now you could get away with doing a slightly smaller piece. You could do a 4x4 piece and make this work. It's just easier to use a larger one. Okay, so all we're going to do now is glue those two diagonal cut pieces top and bottom of that DSP piece. Okay, so I wanted to make that beautiful music note paper stretch as far as I could. So that was my little trick to do that. So we're going to go ahead and adhere top one and bottom one. There we go. And then we're going to add some of this gorgeous copper ribbon. So let me just pull that out of my bag of goodies here. All right, here we go. So this is the gorgeous copper ribbon. It's actually in a combo pack with the ribbon we used on the last card, this beautiful copper metallic. So we're going to run a piece on a diagonal across the front of our card. So I'll just trim that off. And my favorite way to do this is to just take glue dots. We're going to put a glue dot on either end. So there's one and two. And then we're just going to run that across on a diagonal. And you can put it up as high or low as you'd like. I did it, I don't know, about 1/4 inch from that bottom diagonal edge. And then we're just going to wrap that. Okay. Then that is going to get glued onto our card base. So our card base, same dimensions as the last card, 5.5 by 8.5, scored at 4 1/4. So we're going to fold in half. But this time, this is going to be like a book opening card. As soon as I find my book folder, there it is. I'm going to move my paper down because I feel like I'm reaching so far across my desk. All right, so that is going to get stuck on there. So I'll use a little seal this time, just for speed and efficiency. So we're going to pop that one on, just like that. Now, if this is bothering you that it's a bit loose, you can certainly take a glue dot and tuck that in. We're not actually going to see that that's gaping by the time we put all our other parts on. Okay, but that's our foundation. Sorry, I'm sniffling a little. And then I've just got a scrap piece of white cardstock. And I'm going to bring in my Pecan Pie ink pad and my Tidings of Comfort and Joy stamp. Yes, Susan, I would agree. The Merry Melody 3D embossing folder is a favorite of mine as well. I use that one a lot year round because I like my staff lines and music notes. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and stamp my sentiments. And then I'm going to come in and punch this with my 2 1/4. Maybe this is the one that I was going to do a slightly smaller circle. I don't know how my brain works sometimes. So I'm just going to pop this out. This is a 2 1/4 inch circle. I think this is the one that I was doing it smaller. I got my cards confused. All right. Now we're going to do a little bit of stamping, just a little bit, with this pine sprig stamp. and some shaded spruce ink. So we're going to ink this up, and I'm just going to come on a little bit from the top and then up from the bottom a little bit, just like it's kind of nestled in a spruce tree. So there's one there, and then we're going to add one this way, and then one coming up a little further here, just like that. Okay, you can certainly add more if you were so inclined, but I don't want to distract from my sentiment. All right, so now we have some bits of foliage that we've cut. And we have this beautiful, this is the Oxidized Copper DSP. So it's actually pecan pie with copper, which just works so perfectly. So you can see, let me bring in my sample. This is the one that I decided I wanted to see a little bit more of that oxidized copper. So I made my circle just a smidge smaller. So I'm going to add a little bit of adhesive to the back of my circle. Pop that on. And then this is a portion of that long, narrow label, this one here. So I just cut out the foliage part. So I didn't cut the whole thing, just enough to get the foliage, because I'm going to tuck that actually in behind my circle like that. So first, I need to trim off some of this excess. We don't need all of this. And then that is going to get adhered, sort of peeking out from the side of my circle like that. So we'll add a little bit of seal. And we're going to pop this on right about there. And then we're going to add some greenery. So I've got these little sprigs that I've cut from using the Christmas Classics dies. I'm going to get rid of my negative bits here. Should have done that before. I apologize. So we'll get rid of those little bitties. Well, I don't need the bottom ones to come out because we're not going to see them. So we're going to hide those in behind. So again, a little bit of greenery, or sorry, a little bit of glue to add our little bit of greenery. So one there, and one down here. You'll notice I'm leaving a gap in the middle. That is for us to add our die cut pine sprig. So we're going to add a little bit more seal here. And then this guy is going to kind of peek out here. So I like having that copper showing. On my sample, I actually kind of buried the copper, and I kind of regretted that. So we're improving on my original design as we go here, in my opinion anyway. So this is going to get popped up on the front of our card, just with a couple of dimensionals. Yeah, don't they, Arlene? I love adding all those little bits of greenery to the label. Oh, you mean the stamp sentiment? Yeah, absolutely. I always like to add a little something to my stamped sentiment labels. I'm a big fan of no naked sentiments. I know Shelley is a fan of no naked envelopes. I'm a fan of no naked sentiments. So there we go. All right, and then our last touch, or second last touch, we're going to tie a little bow with this same copper ribbon. So this one is a little bit less forgiving because it's quite textured. So you're going to see as I go to pull this, it's going to grab. Okay, so I'm going to make my bunny ears just like always, but you're going to see that the ribbon's going to start to grab. It's quite textured. And as I adjust my loops, it's going to want to like sort of lose its shape. So you really want to be pulling that knot nice and tight. And you'll have to do that a couple of times to get your bow to hold its shape. Okay, so that's just a little tip if you are tying bows with this ribbon. It does make cute little bows, but you do have to work a little bit harder than we did with the last one. Okay, so we're going to add our bow right sort of where the label and the ribbon overlap. So I'm just going to take and press my knot into a glue dot, and then we're going to just tuck that right there. I love this copper ribbon. It's so pretty. And then I've got some copper snowflakes. So these are from the online exclusive self-adhesive snowflakes, or adhesive back snowflakes, I think they're called. And again, I'm going to grab the end of my take your pick because I didn't put it back on. And we're just going to add, whoopsie, my embellishments are hopping all over the place today. So we're just going to add a couple of these sort of falling across the front of the card. So I'm just loving this copper look. Gives it a little bit of an earthy kind of vibe. So there we go. There's our finished card. Wasn't that an easy one? So easy. Now on the inside of this one, again, I did a little bit more stamping. Again, no coloring on this, okay? So if you need quick and easy cards, this is really just stamping, and you don't even have to, if you have circle punches, you don't have to do a whole lot of die cutting. These little sprigs are pretty quick. So I did a little bit of stamping again, and this sentiment is actually from the Brightest Glow stamp set. Okay, so there we go. Isn't the copper gorgeous? I agree, Jean. I love it. All right, last one. I think this is my favorite. I don't know. I like them all, but this one is super blingy. So I'm going to show you this one. I just have to say my favorite thing about this is the way that this More Dazzle paper works with the copper or the pebbled path. I just love that combination. So let me show you how this one comes together. I'm going to make some space here. I got stuff everywhere. Okay. So we're actually going to start by doing a little bit of stamping on our card base. I don't often stamp directly on the card base, usually because I'm putting so many layers on. But again, I was committed to not so many layers and lighter weight. Mind you, this has a lot of layers. But anyway, I tried. What can I say? So this, again, same dimensions, 5.5 by 8.5, scored at 4 1/4. So we'll fold that in half along our score line. And then I'm going to do some tone-on-tone stamping. So this is Pebbled Path cardstock, so I'm going to stamp with Pebbled Path ink. I am going to try and get rid of the black that was on my little bow here. And so we're just going to add some texture along the top and bottom edges of our card base here. Okay, so I'm not really worrying too much about making sure that I'm hitting the middle or the sides, because they really are not going to be visible. But I do want to make sure I get some nice texture along sort of the top and bottom edges. So you'll notice I'm kind of turning my stamp as I go. Oh, I didn't do so well there. That's okay. We'll fill that in. No one will ever know. Okay. Really easy way to get nice, subtle tone-on-tone texture is just stamping tone-on-tone. Okay. So same color ink as cardstock. All right. Next, we have a 3 by 5.5 inch piece of the Music Note DSP. Now, I'm going to point out this right here is a treble clef. It is upside down. So we're going to turn this around because we want the treble clef to be right side up. All right. And you'll notice that our little flags on all our notes kick out to the right. Now, I do have to point out this note right here would get flagged on a theory test for me because the stem is on the wrong side of the note head. Just saying, but that's okay. This is not a theory test, so I'm not gonna mark it. All right, so rather than cut a full layer of this rather expensive but very pretty specialty paper, we're actually just going to sort of do a faux layer by adding narrow little strips, top and bottom. And everyone will think it's a full layer, but it's not. All right, so to do that, these are just 1/2 inch by 5.5. And I'm going to run my seal right along the top and bottom long edges of my DSP here. And then I find it easiest to do this with my piece lying flat on my work surface. And I'm just going to come in and layer the edge of my DSP. And I'm going to flip it around. And the goal here is to try to get about the same width of border there showing. Okay, whoop, almost upside down again, but there you go. How easy was that? No, that's not straight. That's going to bug me. We're going to fix that right now. Let's pull that off. And yes, this paper is quite forgiving. You can pull it off and adjust several times without damaging the paper. All right, that's better. Now we're going to add a little bit of ribbon. No, we're not. We're going to add some DSP, then we're going to add ribbon. So this is a little bit, it's 1.5 inches by 5.5 of that beautiful holly berry DSP. And we're going to layer that right across the middle of our music notes. Okay. Yeah, the dazzle paper, you're right, Charlene. It is a really beautiful combination. I love this paper, and I love the way it looks with the pebbled path. It's just a great combo. So we're just going to lay this across, and you can use your lines on your staff, your music staff, to get your paper straight. There we go. All right, now we're going to add some ribbon. So I'm going to take a glue dot as soon as I find where they landed. And we're going to lay that right across the front. Trim it off our roll. Ooh, that was not much of a tail I left there. It's going to be tight squeeze, but we'll get it on. I'll wrap that around. I just noticed this is a smidge longer, so we're just going to give that a little trim because it's going to bug me that that's not even. All right, so now this is going to get glued onto our card front. And doesn't that just look fabulous, that combination? Oh, I love it. So here we go, a little bit of glue. And this time I'm going to use my grid lines on my grid paper to get this straight. And I'm looking at the DSP layer, not my specialty paper that I added, just because there is a risk that it is not perfectly straight. So my DSP I know is a straight edge. Okay. All right. Now we have a label that is just die cut from some shaded spruce cardstock. That is going to get glued on there. But before we do that, we are going to doctor it up with some more stamped and colored and die cut pieces. I'm going to dump all of my little bits out here for a second. And again, I have already stamped and colored one. We're going to do the second one. So I'm going to show you that little trick again in case you missed it the first time. So I'm going to take my image and ink it up with some Memento Black. And then I'm going to take my blank die cut, layer that over my stamped image. This is the step, you just want to take your time. And the more you do this, the faster you get at it. Honestly, the first one I did, it was like, but once you've done it a few times, it's really quick and easy. So there we go. And then to color this one, slightly different color palette. So we've got light and dark shaded spruce, we've got light old olive, and we've got dark real red. Okay, so I'm going to this time do my leaves, my just plain old leaves in the light old olive. So it's a little bit lighter, a little bit fresher color palette. Not quite as dark as the first one. And one of the things I've really had fun with is playing with different color combos for this image. It's kind of fun to just stamp a bunch of them on a sheet of cardstock and then just play around with different combinations. Playing with color is one of my favorite things to do, which is why I love Stampin' Up! So much, because they have such a great range and so much cross coordination. Makes it super easy to design. All right, so there are our leaves. And then we're going to use our light shaded spruce on our holly leaves. So there's one. Maybe you guys can see this. It just occurred to me I may be so low that you can't see it on the camera, but I think you can. One more little guy over here. And then we're also going to color our little pine sprigs, or I shouldn't say pine, because we're using shaded spruce to color the spruce sprigs. So once again, I'm using my bullet tip and just kind of tracing along that stamped image just to add a little bit of color, because I felt like the black was just boring. Oh, there's one and one more. There we go. And then our last touch is our berries with the dark real red. And I use the dark because I really wanted it to coordinate with that pop of red ribbon. And the dark real red is the true real red shade. The light real red is a lighter shade to blend with it. But if you're looking to match real red ribbon or cardstock, you want the dark. And there we go. Isn't that pretty? Love that combo. All right. So now we are going to take our die cut label and we're going to do a little bit of arranging. Now I'm going to show you a little trick that I did because I wanted this to kind of be coming up between these pieces. So all I did is I took my scissors and I gave that just a little snip. And now I can kind of have this coming up in behind like this. Okay. Now this is going to be hanging down, so we don't want that. We're going to actually trim that off. And then we can have that sort of peeking up and through. So we still see our berries on top. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of seal here. And we're going to kind of tuck that in there. And then we're going to add another of those little pine sprigs that I can't seem to get enough of. They have been very well loved, those dies. So a little bit of seal on there, and we'll add that guy. And then we're going to take this one, and it's going to kind of be hanging. So I kind of want it to be like a swag sort of running down our, or behind our label. So once again, I'm going to trim this so that this can peek out. I'm actually going to do it this way this time. So we overlap our holly leaf. No, I like it this way. Change my mind. So that one's going to kind of hang out that way. So I'm just going to leave it there and add a little bit of adhesive to the back of my label. Stick that on. Okay, and then another pine sprig is going to come out the bottom. So we'll add another little bit of glue and pop that on just like that. Okay, now we have these fun little itty bitty guys. I just realized I didn't give myself any of those larger sprigs. Thankfully, I have a whole bag of them right here. We're going to grab a couple, a 1 and a 2. And those are actually going to go on top of the label. Okay, so they're going to kind of layer over top, and then we're going to put our stamp label over top of that. Okay, so I know I said I wasn't going to do a bunch of layers. I'm only layering little pieces. I'm not layering whole cardstock layers. Does that count? Is this still relatively easy? I don't know. Maybe I kind of blew it. So we're going to pop this guy on here, and this guy's going to come up this way. And then these little guys we're going to kind of tuck in and around after we add our stamped label. So let's do that. Here is our die cut label. And I'm going to stamp this time the Merry and Bright. Where did I put Merry and Bright? Did I not mount Merry and Bright? I didn't. All right, so we can do it now. Making Spirits Bright, not Merry and Bright. Can I read? Okay. Making Spirits Bright. We're going to stamp that in our Pebbles path. So we'll ink this guy up. And this fits quite nicely on this image. So we're just going to center it side to side and top to bottom. And there is our pretty little sentiment. I love sentiments that have mixed fonts. They make me happy. And then this guy is going to get popped up. All right, so we're going to add a couple of dimensionals here. Hi, Martine. I'm glad you like this one. You're actually I'm still live. So you are not in replay just yet. I am still live. So you'll be able to catch the first 2 projects on the replay when I'm done. All right, so there we go. Now, wouldn't that make a really pretty just gift tag? So what I like to do when people make me beautiful handmade cards, I like to pull off elements of them and repurpose them. So this would be an easy one to just kind of pull off and use as a gift tag. I think that would be really pretty. So I'm now just adding a little bit of adhesive to the back of this little arrangement, and we're going to adhere this to the front of our card, centered both top to bottom and side to side, just like that. And then these itty bitty little sprigs, we're just going to add a glue dot to a couple of them. We're not going to use them all. And they're just going to kind of tuck in and around things. So just to add an extra little pop of sparkle. So we'll grab another one and tuck this guy down in here. Just like that. Okay. All right. Almost there. Let's add our bow. So we have this beautiful ribbon. So this again is from the annual catalog. It comes in a combo pack with garden green. Yes, garden green. And it is super easy to tie. It's another one that is very bow friendly. Also 3/8. I seem to find that I like 3/8 of an inch the best in terms of width of ribbon for tying bows. 3/8 seems to be my preferred width. So there we go. There's our pretty little bow. So we'll give that a trim. And then again, glue dots to the rescue. We'll press the knot into a dot and then add that just to the edge of our label. Now the last little touch is to add some of these beautiful red gems, which are also, I just noticed that guy's popping up. He may need a little bit of glue. We'll add that later. These beautiful red gems from the same pack as the music notes came from. And same kind of idea when we are placing them. So I am going to add a little dab of glue where I want my gems to go. So we'll do 1 and 2, and we'll do 1 down here. Okay. And then again, I'm going to come in with my take your pick, and I only want the larger ones. There are large and small in this. And then I'm just going to take my hooky end and just release it from the blue goo and position it, and then don't touch. Okay, let the glue set and you won't end up with sticky, messy fingers. One more. There we go. Just like that. Okay. So the big thing is once you've got these positioned is to leave them, right? Don't move around or bump them so that they come out of position. But there's your finished card. You like that one? I think this is my favorite, I have to say. On the inside, I just stamped some more images and colored them. And then again, another sentiment from the Christmas Classics set. So let me bring in all of our projects from today, and then I'm going to show you a few more ideas with this. So there we go. There's our 3 cards. I'll just kind of do them 3 across. And then I wanted to show you, so I mentioned that with this one, we didn't do a full wreath, but this is what the full wreath looks like. So you actually need 3 of the sprays to create that full wreath look, okay? And you get a nice full circle wreath, okay? So that's that one. And then we have super simple, stamped on some of that textured DSP and then heat embossing gold. I'm not sure how well that shows on the camera. But it's got this beautiful gold embossing, and then I also heat embossed the letters in Noel and die cut them. And then here's one, a little bit more stamping on this one. So I kind of created my little evergreen forest in behind, and then just a single spray there. And this time I embossed my gold foil paper with the distressed tile embossing folder. Okay, so a little bit different look. And then here's one. Again, using that same textural paper, but this time in the shaded spruce, I actually stamped the larger foliage image, this one, from the stamp set, just again to add texture to the background. So same idea as the 3rd card that we made, that tone on tone look. And then super quick, a couple die cuts and done. Here is a no stamping required. So if you like to die cut, this one has no stamping. It is all die cuts, die cut that beautiful foliage label, and then also die cut my letters out of the gold, the wood grain gold. Okay, there's that one. Here is a swap card that I received. So this is really cool. It's kind of like a faux embossing technique. So gluing the tone on tone die cut pieces, and it creates kind of a cool faux embossed look. And then here is that fun fold that I showed you. I think it was just last week. I kind of lose track of time. But this one opens like this. Okay, so it's that one that has that sort of pop out gatefold card, I think I called it. So again, that beautiful label, that foliage label that pops out and then stands up like this. Okay, and then there's a spot on the back to write your greeting. So there you go. There's some ideas with the fabulous Joy of Christmas bundle. So let me just swap out my view. There we go. I'm back. I clicked the wrong button for a second. All right, everybody. Thanks so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed these projects, and I hope you have a great week. I will see you next week for another episode of Tuesday Live at 5. Bye for now.